Who will replace Gabe Newell? This question is really hard to answer because, one, Valve is a privately owned company, meaning that they have no investors to answer to. Because with your normal company, you would think, well, they have to let the investors know who they plan to replace the current CEO with. But since Valve is privately owned, they have no investors to answer to. All of this is locked somewhere inside of Gaben's noggin. All of this being said, to get to the point that Gaben has no incentive to let anybody outside of Valve know who will take his place. I want to get a little cuckoo, okay? I want to get a little conspiracy theorist on this and rank possible successors to Gaben that I think are likely. I'm going to put this in order of most likely to least likely, and it's basically just the amount of psychopathy that you have to make the logical jump that you need to go with my train of thought. I think, assuming that Gaben is unavailable, the most likely candidate to take over the role of CEO or president of Valve would be Scott Lynch. Scott is the most likely candidate because of his current role at Valve, which is COO. A COO is a Chief Operating Officer, which simply means somebody who's in charge of taking what the CEO, Gaben's, objective is and helping employees implement it. This role is not as huge as it would be at other companies considering Valve's different structure, but still, Scott is second in command to Gaben. He's been leading Valve on the inside, and I would imagine that he's probably fit for the role. Obviously, this is the most logical answer, but what if we think a little more out of the box? I'm going to go out on a whim here and say that people who have previously been more interested in making games or working on games are not going to want to become the new president of Valve, nor are they trained for it. I've seen people say that folks like Mark Laidlaw, the writer of Half-Life, would be able to take the reins, but I'd say it's unlikely since, one, he left Valve in 2016, and two, he seemed to fell out of love with anything that has to do with games. After leaving Valve, he released a short story titled Epistle 3, which was totally not his original writing of Half-Life 2 Episode 3, with all of the names of the characters changed. He later said in 2023 that he wrote this while he was completely out of touch and deranged, and that it had caused problems for his previous co-workers at Valve, so no Mark. But who else am I scratching off? I'm going to scratch off Eric Woolpaul. He's one of the two writers of Portal because, one, he left Valve back in 2017 to work on Psychonauts 2, which he ended up not working on, but that's a different story. He came back as an independent contractor in 2019 to work on Artifact and Half-Life Alyx. The reason I rule him out is because, well, one, he's an independent contractor, and two, Eric has voiced that he wanted to work on another Portal still. For that reason, I feel he'd probably not be the next up. Also need to rule out Chet Falasek. He's the other co-writer of Portal and the writer for Left 4 Dead. He left Valve, and he seems to have no intention of ever going back. I feel most important people at Valve already have a defined role in the company. If you're unfamiliar, Valve is a pretty small company for how much stuff that they have and how big Steam and their games are. And that's down to the fact that they've just collected a bunch of specialists who are really good at the specific job that they have in Valve. So honestly, to me, it makes no sense for anybody who's already in Valve besides Scott to take the role of the new president. Now, the next option that's either super likely or super unlikely would probably be Gabe Newell's oldest son, Gray Newell. Gray is the CEO of his own games company, but they have yet to release a game. On LinkedIn, they only have 2 reported employees. He's also a driver for a charity racing organization called the Heart of Racing. It's hard to say what goes on between Gabe and his son. If Gabe has been teaching him how to take the reins, it's possible that Gray could be the next president of Valve, but again, it's really hard to say because this is so far in the realm of speculation. But now, let's get mentally deranged, okay? Let's totally lose any semblance of reality. What if at Valve, alongside the production of the Steam Deck, Valve is working on a Cave Johnson-esque brain uploading device so that Gabe can presumably continue managing Valve after his physical body is long gone? I know this sounds insane, but to be completely honest, I wouldn't put it past him. Think about it. Like, really, really think about it. First, it was realistic NPC interaction inside of Half-Life 1. Second, it was realistic physics engines with Half-Life 2. Third, it was the very first NFTs with Counter-Strike skins. And even now, just last year with the release of Counter-Strike 2, Valve has been trying to change the way that anti-cheats work by using AI to detect cheating instead of using invasive anti-cheats like other online games. I know, it sounds ridiculous, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. We know that Gabe Newell is really fond of VR because it blurs the lines between technology and reality. He's even stated in a recent interview that he was really interested in brain-computer interfaces like the Neuralink. He even said, quote, "In the brain-computer stuff, we're way closer to the Matrix than people realize." And it's clearly something that Gaben is interested in. But let's simmer down, okay? No more psycho stuff. Let's talk realistically. In conclusion, I can't really give you a definitive answer as to who's going to take over Valve after Gaben. The only guy who can tell you is him himself, and I doubt he would ever talk about it. But I think most likely is Scott Lynch. He's already doing a lot of the management at Valve, and it simply just makes sense. But don't forget, Scott Dalton, the creator of the Steam Deck, might be behind the scenes right now, working away, turning Gaben into Mr. House. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying! I'm not crazy! I hope you enjoyed. If you have something to say, if you have a different idea, leave a comment. Don't forget to floss your teeth, like, subscribe. See ya.